Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast for media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, the Shark, Jordan, and Stryker. Today is our 111th episode, and we're discussing the 2024 Skydance animated film Spellbound. So, let's get things started.
Okay, Disney!
Yep,
Just wanted to get that out there.
No better way to start than that. So, this is actually the second animated film that Skydance Animation did. One of our first episodes was actually their first film, Luck, which was a pretty good movie, had a great dragoness in the form of Babe, and actually was really well done for like a first-time movie by a studio on that didn't really do features. It turned out really well. Unfortunately, because Luck was released directly to Apple TV, not that many people saw it. But what we're going to be talking about today is Spellbound, their second film, which is actually a musical with songs written by the great Alan Menken, who did, of course, Little Shop of Horrors. He did pretty much a lot of the Disney Renaissance. So this guy really knows his chops, you know? But first, go ahead, Shark.
Man, can't wait to get to the park with Gigas or the Pandin Foresight. Like, wait a minute. You said Starbound? I thought you said Earthbound.
Spellbound, but yeah.
No, unfortunately not. And also, we just want to reiterate also, unfortunately, this is not a remake of the Alfred Hitchcock movie of the same name. It does not have animated dream sequences by Salvador Dali, nor does it have any James Stewart in it. Sadly. But regardless, this movie actually was released onto Netflix, which means that more people would have eyes in it rather than their first movie, which is a plus. And yeah, we'll talk more about our thoughts about the movie as a whole at the end, but right now, I really liked this. I thought this was a really great movie. You know, it's a lot better than what Disney has been doing since pretty much Encanto at this point. And yeah, this really shows that Skydance has so much potential, and we'll talk more about it in a little bit. But first up, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, it's doing better than Disney when they're ultimately doing better than Snow White.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll talk why we're talking about that later on. But basically, for now, the movie begins right away with just striking you with how beautiful it is. Because again, this movie, for it being the second movie by this studio, is a feast for the eyes. This thing is probably the best second studio movie since, I don't know, maybe Pinocchio, you know, or like Prince of Egypt, because it looks beautiful, absolutely stunning right away. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, this alongside Glitch Productions honestly makes me honestly glad to have seen a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of indie developers outside of Disney and Dreamworks, because being the first few scenes we see of creatures and whatnot, it definitely looks breathtaking. Like, you can see for the most part the detail that's gone into this, the effort that most other indie films honestly wouldn't have been able to do, like Skydance.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head there, because this feels like it's a bold new step for animation. And again, it's kind of a shame that again more people don't talk about this movie, because if anything else, we're gonna have some problems about this movie, so we'll talk about it. But if anything else, one thing we want to reiterate: this movie looks amazing, like absolutely phenomenal with its color use and its palette and everything. It is one of the most beautiful CGI animated movies I think in a long time, to be honest. But regardless, the movie begins with two creatures, a dragon butterfly type creature and a furry bird, flying as the butterfly unfurls its wings to reveal the title card. We then cut to our main character, Princess Elion, fly on her winged cheetah. She and her friends fly through the kingdom of Lumbria, which is the location the movie takes place, which allows us to see, again, just how gorgeous it is. Like, there's minimal dialogue at this point, but just seeing this place, I really feel this is probably one of the best flying sequences in the CGI film since, God, maybe the How to Train Your Dragon movies, come to think of it.
Yeah, that checks out.
It really looks great. But she flies past the statue of her and her parents as she enjoys the flight before a flare goes off in the castle. Elian sighs at this, claiming that it's part of the glamorous life of a princess, as her friends are upset at this. Her friends said they'll see her at her birthday party last night, and that last year's was epic, to which I have to say one thing. Modern day, animated movies stop using slang like this. Stop using epic. Stop doing stuff like Raya saying she's a dragon nerd. Just please, please stop it. Allow your own little worlds to breathe a little.
I don't mind this as much because, to be honest, like, yeah, it kind of does breathe out a little bit, but it doesn't really distract from anything, to be honest.
Yeah, I can understand why. But go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, the word epic isn't as bad as the word nerd. Like, at least they're not saying stuff like, "Oh, your last year party was so cool, my princess. It was so swag," and that could have been.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
probably would have gone with tubular or poggers if you really wanted to make people cringe.
Let's
But
not go
yeah,
there.
stuff like
5,000
cool
times.
honestly feels tame by comparison.
It's
Yeah.
completely fine with me, actually.
Same.
Shark, you were saying sorry?
No, that no one wants to do tubular over 5,000 times.
True.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Sure. But basically, she says that she wants her birthday to be a more private affair this year, and then she wants to spend more time with her parents with an unconvincing grin, as our friends say it's not like her. And the reason we're doing this episode right now is because Princess Elian is voiced by Rachel Ziegler, who is also playing the live-action Snow White that's going to come out in theaters probably this week. Which, will this movie be better than Snow White? Yes, obviously. Although that's not a high bar to clear. That is still, this movie is far, far better than that. So take that praise with a grain of salt, because most movies are probably going to be better than the live-action Snow White movie. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Math?
go ahead, Math.
Allow me to sum this up in a way that Disney themselves can understand. Hi ho, hi ho. To Snow White, I don't want to go. I'd rather watch this movie instead. Hi ho, Snow White, I won't go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, wow. Go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, honestly, my comment about suck it Disney stands true, especially with jokes like that. A+, Math. A+.
Easily. That was absolutely amazing, yeah. But basically what happens is that her friends are suspicious of her, as one of them says they'll meet her in the market. One of the royal ministers, Nazara, apologizes for using the flare, but mentions that the king and queen want an audience. It's here we get Iliad breaking the fourth wall, which isn't done too many times. This isn't like Emperor's New Groove, where she stops the movie and doodles over it, but it is something that kind of took me by surprise on my first viewing. But she tells the audience that she should be playing at the market with her friends, but she can't. She tells her small, purple, furry fuzzball pet Flink, not to be confused with the small, purple fuzzball pet Bebo from the Powerpuff Girls, that it's time for them to get to work as we get our first musical number. But before we talk about that, Shark?
Yeah, what you said about her breaking the fourth wall is kind of weird, because I think it only happens here and at the end, so it's like, all right. We're in a Malcolm in the Middle movie.
Yeah, makes me wonder if it was like more of it in a first draft, but then they decided basically to scrap it. But then they basically said, "Oh wait, it's too late. We can't re-record this part." Oh well, it really does feel like something from an earlier draft. It's not too distracting, thankfully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it works. Much like the bad guys, the fourth wall breaking by one of the main characters honestly doesn't distract from too much, all things considered.
Yeah, easily. But basically, what happens next is we get our first musical number of the movie, which turns out to be a really, really good one. It's really clever because it begins with her singing about how her parents snarl and lash out at her all the time and how she has problems with them. Eventually, she says how her parents have become monsters, then clarifies that she's talking about literal monsters and kicks open the door to reveal them. And this is why we are also covering this movie on the podcast, because King Solon and Queen Elsmere, they've turned into not dragons per se, but they're dragon adjacent enough to where I think we can actually talk about them on the podcast.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are probably going to say, "Oh, they're just monsters." To that, I say, there are very noticeable scaly/draconian things about them. Yeah, sure, there's a bit more to it than just them being full-on mashed-up hybrids. But yeah, I honestly like the diversity here. We got Queen Elsmere, who pretty much looks like a six-armed fey dragon, or insectoid dragon. with a bunch of stuff thrown in. Like she can lash out her tongue like a frog. She basically flutters around with her butterfly wings like that one caterpillar from A Bug's Life, to be honest. She has horns like a ram. She's got the antenna like the bugs. Like a lot of the designs of both her and King Salon are very much unique, and what they do is very much unique. But let's be honest, Queen Ellesmere won me over the most with her uniqueness and how she's ultimately utilized a bit more in terms of like being a creature or like enough of a dragon.
Easily. She is just absolutely adorable. Like, I love also the fact that they keep the colors of their human form in their monster forms. It is great. And like I say, I feel like her design being more softer and rounder with a lot of insect elements as well. Like she has this tongue that basically kind of works almost like Yoshi's, if that makes sense. But I like how they did that, how they mixed and matched various creatures. They made them kind of like dragon chimeras, if that makes any sense. But basically, again, their designs are really, really great and one of the standouts of the movies because they look fantastic. But go ahead, Math.
First off, I want to know who it is that has this thing for 6-limbed dragonesses at Skydance Animation. They
Probably
are a
the
person
same-
of good taste.
Yeah, probably the same person who did Tears of the Kingdom, but we'll get to that later.
And second, I find this interesting. This reveal immediately at the beginning of the movie kind of interesting because this is something that you would see happen sort of at the midpoint of most movies where the parents turned into monsters and now I got to figure out how to get them back. We're having this right smack dab at the beginning. And so it feels like we're coming into a movie that's already started, and that's kind of interesting. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, that's very unique. Also, her acting a bit more cat-like compared to King Salon is pretty adorable. Let's be honest. I'm a little more of a cat person than a dog person. I like both equally, more or less, but her doing that just won me over.
Yeah, I definitely see that. And again, one thing that as well that I really like is, again, like Matt said, starting at what the middle of the movie would be. That is really a bold choice, and it really shows how Skydance is kind of like early DreamWorks in the way that they're not afraid to not play by the rules. If that makes sense.
Yep, you're in their house now.
Yep. And also, the second thing I want to point out is I really hope that having Dragonesses in all their movies is their version of the Luxo Ball or like the Pizza Planet truck, because that would be great.
Yeah, that would be so awesome if they did that. Like, I mean, technically, One Law kind of breaks that sort of trope or like potential, as it were. But the other films, hands down, I really want to see them do this more.
Yep, easily. But what happens is, of course, the pair of dragons, let's call them for the sake of the podcast, they basically are snapping at Minister Bolinar, who was voiced by John Lithgow. To which I have to say two things. Number one, I kept mistyping him as Olimar in my note taking, which would have made a very interesting movie if it was Captain Olimar. Because let's put it this way: the monsters couldn't be any worse than Louis.
No.
And number two, because he's voiced by John Lithgow, I guess this means the Lord Farquaad actually moved up in the world. He couldn't get his own kingdom, so he moved here.
Yeah. You think he's still overcompensating for something?
Perfect. But Elian pulls out a small doll and tosses it at her father. Unfortunately, Mike Wazowski does not run up and say, "Hey, nobody touches my little Mikey."
Yeah.
Yep.
Also
So
shark.
then uses a
Let's just say that this movie also gives this voice actor a tiny character.
Yep, and we'll get more about that in a little bit. But I do like how she makes a shield as like a laser pointer to distract her mother, and she then sings about how her parents went into the woods and were cursed by some form of darkness to turn into a monster. And she has no idea of knowing how to turn them back to normal or when, but is hoping that it would happen. We cut to her having a normal breakfast of pastries while her father eats a whole roasted bird and her mother eats fish heads. I guess since Queen Ellesmere is eating fish heads, she is now a fan of the musical stylings of Barnes and Barnes. Fish head, whirly boy,
Oh
fish
God,
head,
yeah,
fish
had
head,
to
fish
remind
head,
me.
eat them up, yum. Had to do it. Sorry. Had to reference that song.
Yeah. That honestly reminds me, King Salon here, like much later, we'll get more into why he looks like this, but right off the bat kind of reminds me a bit of Knuckles, like specifically the Idris Elba one from the Sonic movies. And again, we'll get to why later, but for now, like that's what it reminds me of. He looks aardvarkish here, and to be honest, that's pretty unique. And honestly, is a bit more of a tradition break than having him just straight up be a dog, more or less. I mean, there are some hints of a dog-like thing happening with him, but it's not as prevalent, and it's a little more subtle than that.
Yeah, I definitely could see why. But again, basically what happens is Ellesmere starts eating some of the pastries with her lizard-like tongue, but Solon eats literally everything on the table by just shoveling it in his mouth, to which I have to say he learned about eating breakfast from Patrick Starr.
Yeah, or Wacko.
That too. And I do like the montage of them annoying her with things, with acting like actual animals, like Ellesmere spitting out a slimy pillow onto her bed, and Solon running away when she tries to brush his teeth, being really, really funny and well written in a way. And here's an interesting thing, is that this is not a solo song because the ministers start to sing. Their verse is pretty much how she's been coping so well with the huge change. And we get a really good joke where we see an artist painting a portrait of the family with them as humans, while we see the actuality of the two monsters running around. And we then get the verse of them singing how hard it is that her parents are literally monsters. We see her sing about how she has her royal duties, with another good joke of her father holding a soldier in his mouth like an excited animal being a good one. But the best joke of the montage that made me laugh is the joke of her waving to a crowd next to two cardboard cutouts of her parents. Like, I don't care if that doesn't make sense in like the quasi medieval setting. That made me laugh hard. That is a legit good pop culture joke.
Yeah. Also, freaking. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the voice actress for the minister alongside Bolinar is voiced by the same person who did the head of I forget the organization's name. It's from Carmen Sandiego. If you know, you know. But yeah, they share an identical voice actress.
Really? Huh? I didn't know that. Go ahead, Math.
The song qualities, the song quality in this goes up and down as the throughout the movie. But one thing that I was really surprised by, and this is why I had to look it up, Rachel Zegler as the main voice actress is really good in this, and her singing is phenomenal all the way through. The songs themselves may be up and down, but she just nails every song she's in. So if, well, let's be honest, when Snow White bombs, I hope that she can get a very long career in voice acting, because she fits perfectly in that.
I agree.
Easily so. But like I say, what happens then is we get another good joke with the final verse, because with its final thing, basically we get some cute gags like her playing with a bird before her mother eats it and then opens it to have hundreds of birds flying out. And we also get a little bit of pathos here because she sees a teenager getting scolded by his mother, and then she mentions how she misses having them as actual parents, saying have them ignore her as feral beast is worse than anything else that they could do to her. Which again, you really do feel for her in this way. Like in the span of one song, they've given her such character with it, which really, really impressive.
Yeah, I gotta agree on this, because to be perfectly honest, like her having a bunch of royal duties off the bat and having this much responsibility, no kid should ever really have to do that until they're ready. And yet it was thrust upon her fairly early, and she's had to adapt since then. And as we've seen, as we'll see later throughout the movie, she's shown to rise up to the challenge. Doing it this early and this sudden, especially with circumstances being as they are, yeah, it's pretty rough, especially for a kid like her.
Huh, that is also interesting. Apparently, Minister Nazara, you might also best know her as the voice actress of Flo from Cars. So definitely interesting to see
Nice.
that. As she also did a Pixar movie and a Skydance movie. But
That's cool.
ha-
And a Netflix show. So
that too. But after the song, General Cardona arrives and knocks on the door, demanding to be let in. Ilian panics at this as the ministers say they cannot let her in, and they've used literally every possible excuse with a brief montage of it. Nazara panics as Bolinar tells her to relax as he has an excuse. And a good joke, which is probably one of the better jokes in the movie, he opens the door, simply says, colonoscopy, and slams it shut, which is one of those things that's just, it is so unexpected, and yeah, it's a little Dreamworks-esque, in a way, but man, it works. I think it's because of the timing, and I think John Lithgow's delivery on the line,
yes, like that is the most hilarious mic drop moment. Like, honestly, as far as mic drop moments go, that has got to be one of the funniest.
Easily. But Cardona says that she will be back tomorrow and will see the king and queen no matter what. Nazara tells her that they can't keep doing this forever and that they don't have a way to break the spell. Ilion basically goes into her room and lies down screaming in her pillow, with Flink doing the same. A servant arrives, then tells her that the royal postmaster is here. Sadly, it is not the guy that runs all over the place from Zelda.
Yeah.
He arrives surrounded by pigeons, with his robe covered in their droppings, and a brief and a blink and you miss it joke. And he says that he has an update with the oracles of the sun and the moon, who are not Princess Celestia and Princess Luna. That would have made this movie a 10 out of 10 easily. But
yeah, or
regardless,
Solgaleo and Lunala, let's be honest.
That too. But
Or named Brighton or Twilight from Mario Party 6.
That too. There's a lot of ones we could do with that. But Angron, you were saying?
Yeah, I already said it. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Shark, you were saying?
No, what you said.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. But yeah, the postman says that as the oracles live in the forest of eternal darkness, he sent 8 of his best birds into them. He then says how 7 of them consumed enchanted berries that turned them into stone and honored their loss with each and every one of them. He says their names after a short pause, and this joke is the first dud one of the movie, I feel. It could work, but it goes on for a little too long. I get what they were doing with it, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's not like Zootopia with like the joke with Flash at the DMV, because that one at least, makes sense. This one, it feels a little bit like padding, but we do get a better joke because after this, he says that Old Joe, his best bird, came to reply with a message. Old Joe then turns into stone as the postman says that he ate the berries with the slow effect. And we get a really dark joke, like unexpectedly really dark joke, with Ilion accidentally snapping the head off of the bird, trying to get the paper off of it, and sheepfully hands it back to the postman. And the postman just stares at this and says, "He was like a son to me," before turning away and running off, which really, really dark stuff,
Yeah,
this kind of movie.
Yeah, that right there made the long, drawn-out naming the birds and whatnot worth it. And it gets even funnier later, but that right there, honestly, is the near peak of that sort of bit where like he's just talking about how all the birds got turned to stone. Then Old Joe was the one who just made it in time to deliver the message, only for Elian to like accidentally rip off his head, like further killing the bird. Which there's just so much about that is hilarious and is brutal, but yeah.
Yep.
Poor bird was dead already. Let's desecrate his corpse.
Exactly. Go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, thankfully this delivery bird wasn't Zelda's Lothwing from Skyward Sword.
True.
God.
Thankfully not. But it turns out that the paper is only a tiny scrap that says add water to it. Before Ilion can do so, Flink eats the paper but quickly spits it out. The paper turns into a series of purple sparkles as the oracles appear. Here, the oracle design is really, really cool because they're done in kind of a Thai shadow puppet style, and it looks really, really neat. Unfortunately, they don't look like that throughout the whole movie. If they did, I think I would have liked it a little more, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Mm-hmm.
The Oracle of the Moon is voiced by Nathan Lane, but sadly, they did not get Ernie Sabella to voice the Oracle of the Sun. Missed opportunity right there. Instead, he is voiced by Titus Burgess, who does a pretty good job, like I say. And Nathan Lane's kind of doing like this quasi-Germanic accent, which I guess works a little bit for it, but really it just reminds me of the Princess Bride with Miracle Max in a way. But go ahead, Shark.
Honestly, the sign we see for the oracles in this scene, it makes me think of the shadow creatures from Super Mario Galaxy 2, especially because of the purple background.
Nice.
Huh, I can actually see that. That is very, very true. Go ahead, Angron. You were saying?
Yeah. Also, like on the Nathan Lane Germanic thing, Comfortable Doug, he is not. Comfortable Doug would pull off that crap easily. I forget the actor's actual name, but that's what I remember him as well as Jeff from Luck. So yeah.
Yep. But the oracles say that they must see the problem firsthand. Elian asks that they're coming to the kingdom, as the oracle of the sun says they're coming on the third eve of the third day of the third month, which is not Smarch. Yep. But
Thankfully, then there's not going to be any low sea weather.
That too. But it turns out that's actually her birthday that night. The Oracle of the Moon wishes her a happy birthday, as the Oracle of the Sun berates him for not keeping things mysterious and spooky. Elian cheers about how they're finally getting back to a normal life as the basically projection fades. But she goes to tell the ministers. However, the ministers are busy lamenting about their lot in life and how they have to take care of the monsters as their job. We then see the armful of gifts that Elian is receiving, as well as the fact that she's coming of age, as Nazara gets a devious idea. And here we get the second song of the movie, which is done in kind of a flamenco style, and it's really, really good. It's basically the verses is she's singing about they're going to have Elian become the queen, so they can get back to their old lives and things are better for them, singing about how they can basically get back to their old lives. At first, Bolinar isn't sure of it, but she convinces him otherwise. And again, it's really, really good. It's really, really catchy, and I do like how they had the musical numbers in this. It feels natural. It feels like they all flow into each other. Maybe not as good as like something to say like Lion King or Aladdin, but it does work out.
Yeah. First of all, on the bit where like the Oracle of the Moon wishes him a happy birthday, it's actually the Oracle her a happy birthday. Speaking of mess ups, the Oracle of the Sun wishes her a happy birthday.
My apologies.
Second, the Sun's thing in that message, aka the Skype message, not just recorded, because it's not, as we no doubt saw. Him just repeating everything and then flubbing it up a few times, which is funny.
Oh, definitely. It's a joke that really, really does work. But basically, after the song seemingly ends, Elian arrives and tells them that the oracles are coming to make things right, while they tell her about their plan to make her the queen if the oracle magic can't work. They say that they'll send their parents to the wilderness and that she can see them whenever she wants, but interestingly enough, this is a thing that, again, this movie is full of surprises, and this is one of them. She actually agrees to this. You think that, like, in a typical movie, she'd be like, no, I'd never do that. I can fix my parents myself. I can do it myself. But here, she actually takes the pragmatic approach, which, again, very surprising for something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the trio basically sing and dance about how things will go back to normal one way or another, and we do get a running gag that I've kind of neglected up to this point. Sorry about that. The castle constantly falling apart because of the actions of like the monsters. It's a cute one. It's a really cute one that does work.
Yep.
But we then cut to her birthday as the ministers wish her a happy birthday with one really, really old woman playing the harp. Unfortunately, we do not know if the three amigos want her to so like the wind, obscenely old woman. But anyway, the ministers wish her a happy birthday and that, and we get a party streamer through a knight helmet, which, cute joke, not gonna lie. She blows out the candles and thanks the ministers as her parents arrive, with them wearing, I guess, like the remains of their royal outfits, like their crowns and tiaras and that. And we actually get an interesting cameo here. One of the knights is voiced by John Ratzenberger, who, of course, is previously known for all his roles in Pixar films. He was Ham. He was, P.T. Flea. He was Mac from Cars. He's the Abominable Snowman. Basically, every Pixar movie until, I think, Soul had every single one of him as a cameo. But he apparently moved to Skydance with John Lasseter, so now he's going to be a cameo in all of their movies, which would be interesting.
Yeah. Also, the old lady like going full ham on the harp and just being like, it's honestly hilarious. Also, seeing Ellesmere trying to bat her crown and her other gear off is just honestly adorable, and seeing both of them in that gear just is honestly just so charming.
Yeah, it really, really is. And Solon picks up the John Ratzenberger knight, but Elian demands he puts the knight down. Bolinar goes to drink some more champagne, as Angron just said. Her mother knocks down her tiara. Flink eats it and runs off, which knocks down Bolinar. Bolinar calls Flink a wild vermin as Flink grins with the tiara still in his mouth. Oh, go ahead, Math.
Since you brought it up just a second ago, first of all, Ratzenberger was also in the previous movie from Skydance Luck. He was Rudy, the effectively mayor or head person you saw in the bad luck world.
Yep.
So that's what started this trend. And I think that that's why we're recognizing a lot of voice actors and actresses in this, and why the animation quality is so good, because whatever you want to say about Lasseter, let's ignore all that. He seemed to have taken a lot of talent with him when he left Disney, both in the voice acting and in the animation department, which is why this movie is as good quality and uses so many professionals as it does.
I
Yeah,
definitely
that
can see
definitely
that.
makes sense.
Yep. But anyway, what happens next is that a gigantic frog hops into the room as it turns out that this is where the oracles arrive. The frog's mouth opens, revealing the shadowy forms of the oracles, but they step into the light and they look like very short, blue-skinned men. And this is the one thing I have like a real problem with the movie, aside from like a couple of other little things. Their art style doesn't fit the rest of the movie to me. They look very awkward. They look like characters in like Trolls compared to like the rest of the movie. And I don't know if they're from like an earlier draft or something. They never got around to redesigning them, but they just look so weird. And not weird in a good way, like the monsters. This is weird in like a art style shift. It's like, for example, if in the middle of like Toy Story, we had a character that looked like, for example, I don't know, but you got the point. The point is that it doesn't really fit the art style and looks kind of awkward. But basically,
a little bit.
yeah, might just be my opinion. But yeah, I was not too impressed with the design, unfortunately.
Also, the king and queen reacting to the frog and the oracles coming in, being like, Solon rolling behind his chair like Pangolin or like an echidna, more or less. Again, paralleling the Knuckles thing, which we'll get to more later. And Ellesmere hopping up on the top of the chair like a cat, like despite her size, like her being a freaking giant six-armed fey dragon-looking thing. She's just like up there growling like a cat, and it's honestly funny.
Yeah, easily. But what happens is one of them thanks the frog for the ride and literally gives him 5 stars by feeding them to his mouth. Haha. Also, the frog has an air freshener on his uvula. Haha. The frog hops away as the oracles argue about the quality of the ride. However, the oracle of the moon, Luno, gets out a piece of paper and talks about how she thinks her parents are monsters while scribbling it down. Oh, go ahead, Math.
Yeah, one thing that I will say about this movie is it has some of the best fantastical creature designs I have ever seen in any animated movie, at least recently. Hell, even the designs of the characters. They say that they are humans in the movie several times. They're elves. The pointed ears,
it's like
elf architecture, elf armor styling, all that kind of jazz. So the oracles are the kind of odd man out here, because they, compared to everything else, they do look kind of plain.
Yeah, they look like Hylians. Yeah, it's like calling Hylians humans, because like they're clearly not human. We know human. We look in a mirror every day and we see human, but yeah, those aren't exactly human. I mean, to be fair, this is a separate universe, and them calling each other humans ain't exactly a far-reaching sort of thing, because for all they know, they could be the only humans. It's not established upon, but still.
I will say the one aspect I did like about the oracles, though, the Oracle of the Sun is very bright and cheery, and the Oracle of the Moon is a bit darker and gloomier. That is fitting on a cosmic level.
Exactly.
I was
Like
actually going to
sun
mention
and
that the sun is the optimist and the moon is the pessimist, which again, I really do like that. I have to admit that really is a fun touch. But what happens is the oracles then see that she's actual monsters as they leap in fear. Luna, of course, thought it was apparently a metaphor as the pair of monsters growl at the oracles. Ilian throws yet another toy, distracting the two. And Luno says that if they went into the dark forest of eternal darkness, which, in a cute throwaway joke, he says, so scary they named it twice, but it's not Mario's Tunnel of Doom, which is very scary. But
yeah.
they might be stuck as monsters forever if they don't change back soon. Luno asks Sunny for the wand, but Sunny says that he traded the wand for an upgrade. As we get another cute little bit of bickering between them before Sunny shows Luno that he traded the wand for a fob, which is like a wand but can do anything at all. Go ahead, Math.
You skipped over what was my favorite joke between these two in the castle, where the moon said, I thought you were exaggerating. Why would I do that? You're a teenager. That's what you do.
That joke's decent, but to be honest, I thought it was going to be like one of those jokes where it's like overdone. Thankfully, it's used sparingly, but it could be better.
Yep. But Sunny basically tries showing Luno how the fob works as the pair eventually learn, using it to make musical instruments come to life and begin to sing a song on how to break the spell. I say begin to because Ellesmere eats them literally right as they begin. And a really good joke, a joke that actually got a really fairly good laugh out of me. It's like, okay, that's good subversion. I'd say that it's funnier. It's actually even almost funnier than the joke they did in Shrek, where Donkey starts to sing and Shrek goes, "Stop singing!" You know, it is like that, but actually better. But she spits them out right onto Solon, who growls. The oracles scream as the pair of monsters chase them before they jump out of the window and land in their frogs and hops away. Ilian yells at her parents for ruining everything and decides to become queen. She then arrives at her parents' cages later that night and tries to give them pieces of cake to apologize, noting that they didn't mean to do it. She unlocks the cages and places the cakes in them as Ellesmere eats her. For a moment, she stares into Ilian's eyes as, in a neat little detail, you think that she recognizes her, but she merely just eats her slice and hops in the makeshift bed. Ilian sighs and then looks on the floor before she turns her attention to the castle. She enters it, and in a nice touch, the castle is totally destroyed. There's dripping water on a piano strings that create accompaniment for the song, and it's not a really good one because I like the part of her staring at literally the ghosts of her past with a glowing flashback is a really nice visual touch here. It shows how she had such a great relation with her parents and why, again, it is really sad how they're in their current forms. But, go ahead, Angron. Sorry about that.
First of all, the moment I heard that piano chord start, all I could think of was Breath of the Wild? Good lordy. Second of all, Ellesmere looking into Elian's eyes like that, like, she was the first to ultimately do that, meaning, like, there was a more hope for her than, honestly, Solon, to be perfectly honest. And that's honestly what bumps up Ellesmere in terms of being a great character and an overall great dragoness in my eyes. And third, yeah, I basically agree. This song is amazing. It's soothing. It's beautiful to look at. I absolutely love it. Anyways, Matt?
So one thing that we've kind of touched on a bit is that parts of this movie are kind of like up and down in quality so far. That seems to shift immediately after that meta commentary joke about how the oracles are starting their song and then it just dies. From that point on, the movie gets really good almost purely consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like that is the one moment where it really picks up. Like the first 20 minutes of the movie or 30 minutes of the movie we're at now, it is a little slow, but after this is where it really picks up speed, and we're glad to see it, you know?
Yep.
Yep.
Hmm.
So what happens next is that basically is that in the flashback, Solan's outfit is eerily similar to that of the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. I wonder if that was an intentional reference. But basically, the song itself ends with Alien falling asleep in an armchair, dreaming of good times with her parents. However, when she wakes up, she hears a commotion as she realizes that she forgot to lock the gates, and Solon and Ellesmere are basically running through the village and causing havoc everywhere. Cardona sees them and orders her guards to catch them. Alien follows them as they continue basically to create chaos and basically smash everything before the two are surrounded by guards. Alien tells Cardona and literally everybody else about their plan and what happened as they guess, with Cardona being upset at Nazara for not telling her. Elena tries to get him to calm down, but they accidentally throw her in the air and knock her out. The guards throw nets on the monsters as they roar, to which I have to say one thing. This is the worst thing that ever happened to this kingdom since Denethor caught on fire. Had to make that. But anyway, we then cut to this kingdom at night as citizens ask what happened to their homes, their kingdom, and the monsters. Unfortunately, no one suggests that they will take the monsters and push them somewhere else, except that is kind of what Cardona says, that the monsters are going to be sent away to the far reaches of the world, and that Alien the princess will now rule the kingdom. We get a really understated joke here from one of the citizens saying, I like the princess. That's a really funny one. I always a sucker for things where like one guy in a crowd is excited for something, you know? But anyway, go ahead and run.
And I love you too, random citizen. Had to
Nice.
make that joke.
Classic. But the ministers and Elian are upset at this, as Cardona says the monsters will never be seen again, being placed into cages and gotten rid of. As he says this, we cut to this happening. Elion is worried about what to do and then sees the fob, which begins ringing like a mobile phone. Flink eats it as she fights with him for a couple of minutes before she gets it out of his mouth. But first, go ahead, Math.
One thing I liked about this moment was you could see how upset Minister Nazara was that General Cordona was wanting to send them to the farthest reaches of the world, because the agreement that Nazara made with Elian was they're just going to send them out to a field so that Elian can visit them at any point. Initially, when Nazara and Bolinar were doing their song, I thought, oh, okay, this is effectively the villain song, and they're going to be the villains of the movie. No, like they're trying to help as much as anybody else, and Nazara was trying to do what she thought was best for everybody, and she's upset with Cardona doing something different from their initial deal. Good job, movie.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the thing also notice, this movie doesn't have a villain.
Yeah, it's like Toy Story 4. Like, once you understand things, it becomes less man versus someone else, but more man versus self, and like ultimately what they have to ultimately overcome. And I give props to this movie for leading us on until they take the wool out of our eyes and show us, hey, it's this. Which I'm very glad that they did. It makes this movie unique in so many regards because of that.
Exactly. But she basically makes the fob work, which it turns out that the oracles are looking for it, as Alien asks if they could help her with their parents. They say that they won't help her after what happened at the castle, but she offers to go to them. She asks if she can basically head to the force, as they agree, with Luno noting that she won't get a frog at this hour, in a pretty cute joke. She then runs out and attempts to use the fob, but first all it does is just expose the underwear of all the guards, which, okay. Then we get something really, really creative. That really was the thing that made me like this movie. How creative it was. She tries to get the guards, basically her parents, out of the cages, but it makes the cages come to life. She then uses the fob to try and make a carriage, but she ends up literally turning the carpet into one. And again, this is so creative how they use magic in that, in this way. She uses the fob to make the banners come to life as it grabs all the guards and throws them around. We hear the Wilhelm scream, which Probably is the first time we've heard that effect in a good 10 years at this point, come to think of it.
Wilhelm was one of the guards, and
Yeah,
that day he
obviously.
was at the butt of the kingdom's
Yep.
joke.
Sadly. Cardona has them close the gates as Flink touches the fob, which uses it to create two gigantic hands in the water that close the waterfall. Unfortunately, it wasn't the fob. It was actually none other than Imhotep who was helping her out there. His face didn't appear in the water, but his hands did in this case. As she gets away, Cardona calls the guards and the flying cheetahs to help chase her down. The fob gets used again, turning hay bales into guard dogs that roar at the deer they all use. And again, this is such a creative sequence. I give them all the credit in the world for how they did this, you know? But let's see. Go ahead, Matt, you were saying?
What I really like about this is the magic is working this way because it has to, they make a reference that it has to be very specific what you do with this, and she is using vague commands. The reason that all the guards, their pants fell down is because her magic command was drop it, and the magic dropped the pants. The reason that the carriages or the cages came alive and became carriages is because she just said, I want to get to the forest. Nothing specific from that point. The reason that the bale of haze came alive is because she literally said, look alive, as the command to get them out of the way.
Yeah, easily. That is really, really creative. Angron, you were saying?
Yeah, I gotta agree. Like, this is stuff. This is the kind of specificity that Prismo would no doubt be like, yeah, listen here, this sort of thing. You got to be a little smart about it, you know, like potential, like like that one scene from Adventure Time where he's explaining how his wishes work. Also, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the water opening scene. He opened the gate, but she honestly should have had the water hold the gate, like Hodor hold the door. If you know, you know.
Yeah, nice. I definitely can see that. But what happens next, basically, is that the cheetahs continue to chase her as the ministers say they're trying to rescue her and her parents. Flink uses the fob, but Bolinar falls off one of the cheetahs and lands on Flink, which causes them to switch bodies. Flink in Bolinar's body falls off the carriage, while basically Bolinar and Flink's body is still with her. He realizes the body swap that happened and panics, which thankfully this is nowhere near as pointless as the Shrek the Third body swap, because that just didn't need to happen. But the carriage goes vertically up a mountain, to which I have to say it probably goes to rock bottom next, because it's going at a 90-degree angle.
Nice.
Flink in Bolinar's body sees his new form, chirps, and then begins shoving melons in his mouth in a cute joke. But let's see who's first. Let's see. First, go ahead, Meth.
With Bolinar now in Flink's body, we have officially met our Disney-required talking animal sidekick quota.
Nice.
Shark?
Well, first, yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, it's a subversion in the fact that the character does not want to be a funny talking animal.
Yep.
Second, well, he can deny it no longer. He's small.
He is small. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. If only he was Plankton. And hey, the Plankton movie just came out, so could have tied in with that too, but sadly.
Yeah.
We have good timing all around.
Yep. But basically, what happens next is that Bolinar laments being stuck in his cute animal form as Ilian grabs the fob and uses it to create a hole in a tree that they jump down. The guards try to do the same, but the hole closes up, leaving them trapped. Again, we cut to Bolinar still lamenting about being stuck in this body before running away from her parents, begging them not to eat him. Eleanor says that all will be fine when they find the oracles, what Bolinar is saying about his body being tiny and furry and that, and he then smells pasta being cooked as Eleanor says that is impossible. And then we get a moment that's cool, but also a little bit inexplicable, with a giant owl appearing and hooting before flying away, revealing a series of egg-shaped houses, which is where the Oracle lives. This is cool, but I really wish this had a lot of world building in a way, because in a sense, I like what they're doing here. I like they're giving us a totally unique new fantasy world, but it'd be nice if there were a little bit ground rules, like how some stuff work and how it doesn't. Keep in mind, this movie's still fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I really, really enjoy this, but I wish I could focus on this just a little bit more. But basically, she knocks on the door as Luno opens it and welcomes her before, in a good joke, he literally just sees the monsters and slams it on her. Oh, go ahead, Math.
What you're basically saying is, explain, movie, explain.
Yeah,
Uh,
but this
but,
isn't as bad as some movies, though.
Right.
That's
But
true.
I'm willing to forgive this because I love that owl bush design. It looks so good. All the creatures in this look fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Especially the oracles, even though they are more basic than one would think.
Yeah, it is. But basically, Sonny opens the door and chases his brother as Eleanor apologizes for her mother literally eating them, says it won't happen again as her mother chirps. She gives them the fob and says that it can break the spell, but they say that the fob could only bring them here. She asks if they know anyone who helps, suggesting wizards, sorcerers, and pixies, as they bicker with each other about who can help her, before they come to the conclusion the only one that can help her parents are themselves. They have to go through the forest and all of its treacherous paths in order to find out how to get them back, and says it's hopeless, as, in a nice touch, both of the oracles are optimistic in this. Even the one of the moon that's supposed to be the pessimistic one, which is a really, really nice touch. We then get another song where we have some cute gags like Ellesmere eating a star and getting light projection eyes in a cute joke. It turns out that the reason our king and queen turned into monsters is because they lost their light, and that they literally have to go into the lake of light in order to bring themselves back to their human forms. The Oracle of the Moon warns her about the dark feelings and how it can go into anyone, but Eleanor is confident that it won't happen to her. The trio finish singing as the pair of oracles run inside to eat garlic bread for some reason. Then the owl comes back to cover up their house again. Sadly, it's not Ludmilla belly flopping on their house, because that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And, yep. But the group then walk to the forest as Eleanor sees a beam of light from behind an oak tree. Bolinar is scared over what he thinks of the darkness, but it only turns out to be some little rock creatures. Eleanor tries to comfort him by saying that the darkness won't attack them with two monsters by their side, but Bolinar isn't convinced as Eleanor sees the soldiers. She orders her parents to hide in the oak tree as Bolinar is trying to get the attention of the soldiers to come back home. Eleanor tackles him as they roll down a hill, with her telling him that if they're caught, her parents will be banished, but Bolinar tries telling them that they're not your parents anymore, which, at least this is a better movie than when Track of the Moon Beast did it. That's your obscure movie reference for the day. And that her kingdom needs a queen, but Eleanor says that what's best for the kingdom is if she brings her parents back. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, doubling back to the Oracle thing. First, like how this song basically starts, how the animated flashy bit starts is with Queen Ellesmere and King Solon just looking passively as everything's happening. They're just like unfazed by all this, like it's like a regular 9 to 5 for them, and they're just like Elian's the only one who's reacting to this all wonderful and whimsical, while they're just like, oh, this is happening now. Second, in case that wasn't obvious, this is pretty much a blatant freaking divorce allegory, as it were. And yeah, I know they're all like allegory schmalegory, which, to be fair, yeah, there's a little more to it than that. But yeah, seeing her like this is basically. But yeah, this is 100% a divorce allegory, which we'll get into more as we go on.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
don't
we'll
worry.
get into more of it. But what happens basically is that she realizes that she lost her parents as they go into the oak tree tunnel. She and Bolinar go in to see strange blue floating orbs. It turns out that the orbs are sound waves, and she notices this and sings, having her parents do this as well. This bonding session is broken when Bolinar bitterly notes that he wishes he was dead, which causes a red sound wave to appear and bounce onto Solon. Solon roars, creating many red sound waves, with Ellesmere doing the same. She manages to get them under control with the neat part of Bolinar saying, they're just dumb animals, which creates a red sound wave. But Ilion creates a blue orb, saying they'll get through it no matter what, and negates it in a neat moment. Ellesmere then sees a bug land on Solon's face and hits it with her tongue, causing him to growl at her, and they roar again. Bolinar tells her that her parents aren't in there anymore again, as she says that they have to be. The darkness shows up and nearly sucks her in before her parents save her. Unfortunately, it is not the heavy metal band The Darkness. God, love! Sorry for that terrible impression, but I had to do it. Oh, go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, so this darkness, it's not Batman's, because Batman's darkness comes with no parents.
Super rich. Kind of makes it better.
Perfect. Go ahead, Math.
So one thing I did notice that was pretty subtle was that the two monsters were always fighting each other, and I found that kind of weird because wait, you're a married couple. Why are you fighting each other even when you're transformed into animals? Why are you constantly at each other like this? And then when they're in the tunnel, as all the red sharp voice thing is happening, and Elian says, "Why are you two always fighting?" And then it sort of clicked with me. Oh, I think I know what the theme of this movie is. Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's clever. It really,
It's
really is one of those
subtle.
things that's a lot more clever than you'd think from a movie like this. But we'll get to why in a little while. Basically,
It's a lot more subtle than certain other movies. Disney.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
and we'll
little more
get to it in a
subtle,
bit.
but it's also blaringly obvious sometimes.
Yep, we'll get to that
I
in
had
a
to
bit.
say that real quick.
Yep, but anyway, what happens next basically is that the pair of monsters yell and push the red sound waves away, which has the unintentional effect of actually making them speak again. When they get
Yep.
out of the oak tree, even though Solon and Ellesmere begin talking again, they don't know who their daughter is. Solon is voiced by Javier Bardem and Ellesmere is Nicole Kidman, which I guess this is the No Country for Old Men Chicago crossover people have been waiting for.
Indeed. Also, Ellesmere and Solon's voices are great. I honestly like Solon's just a tiny bit more for the stuff he says. But let's be honest, Ellesmere has a pretty nice voice for all the stuff she says as well. And here's where I bring that Knuckles comparison back again, because we have Solon sounding very deep, very like distinguished, and like in that whole native sounding dignant and yet ultimately not understanding modern thing. Which, yeah, to be fair, it's not as ultimately comical for the most part as Knuckles is, but it definitely comes close many times. Again, Solon is basically Knuckles in many ways, and we'll get to more of that a little later. But yeah, I like Ellesmere's just going like, girl, cake girl.
Yeah, they call her the cake girl, and as Bolinar asks for cake, to which she says there is none, she's amazed how they're talked, as Solon says that he has to release liquid from within, and kind of
like
not
that.
good joke, but yeah,
I like that joke. It's funny for the most part.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that stuff, but anyway, go ahead, Matt.
What I like about when they start talking is Nicole Kidman does a bit of a interesting voice with the way that she is speaking as this character. It's very there's something really sweet about the style that she's going with, and it does sound exotic and unique. Javier Bardem is just Javier Bardem. If you know his voice, you will instantly recognize this, and just because it's his voice, it sounds exotic and cool.
Exactly. And he does a great job with it. But what happens next, basically, is that after he runs off screen and do that, Bolinar is as cynical as ever as we cut to them making their way to the forest. The pair start to argue with each other, but Elinar tells them to not fight or bad things will happen, asking if they learn nothing from their experience. The pair stop fighting and continue to walk, with Solon asking if they are there yet, and is amazed at clouds, which he calls skyballs. Ellesmere, meanwhile, sees a rock and is amazed at it. Unfortunately, we do not know if Hogarth Hughes is in the same forest teaching the Iron Giant about rocks and trees at the same time.
Yeah, or if she knows a certain Earth pony.
That too. Go
Oh,
ahead, Shark.
Sponge and Squid delivering a pizza nearby.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Like the old pioneers used to use. They could have gotten to the Lake of Light if they only used
Yeah.
one. But
Yeah, I also
Ellesmere,
like
then,
her little. I also
oops,
like
I
a
got
her little bit here where she's like, "Big rock, rock." Like that bit right there is funny, and then it gets to something that I definitely was very much enamored by. Like she sticks her head through a bush and sees a bunch of dead birds, or at the very least petrified birds. She's like, "Bird rocks," and Alien's basically just like, "Mom, don't eat those berries."
yeah, and again, that's a good joke
Oh,
because
you
it's a
do.
callback to the joke about what happened with the birds earlier. It's one of those things that, again, you don't expect it to come back, but when it does, it is really, really funny. But
Yes.
they then see a group of butterflies as Solon asks, "How can butterfly?" with Elion asking if he made a dad joke. Which, okay. We get a
Yep.
cute moment with Ellesmere using her tiny wings to fly across a canyon while Solon and Eleanor swing across. Elion is amazed at how well they are doing, with Bolinar calling them beasts that don't know anything. He sarcastically calls himself Lord Candy Pants, to which they actually call him that, and I have to say one thing. Hey, I thought Alan Tudyk was Lord Candy.
No,
Trying to
King
muscle in on
Candy,
his
but
Yeah, alright.
yeah.
But anyway, the group make it to the top of a cliff as Elian waits for the next beacon, but it does not show up as night comes. Bolinar falls asleep as Elian asks if they know her name, with Solon saying that she's Cake Girl. Ellesmere says that she sees a beacon, but it turns out to be just the stars, as Elian says they used to look at it together. We've got another nice song where she sings of all the things they did together as they slowly try to remember, with flashes of their past coming back to them. And this is really well done. And for two actors that don't really do like singing, they did a good job, Javier Bardem and Nicole Kidman in this. They actually did a good job for what it was.
Yep.
Solon remembers things, while Ellesmere doesn't for a while. But Elion says that she'll keep remembering for them, and someday they will too. Ellesmere finally says Elian's name as she hugs her, and they finally see the next beacon. We cut to the next day. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This moment right here. Okay, first of all, amazing song, and honestly, Ellesmere struggling to remember is adorable. But when she finally remembers Elian, it is honestly great that it's her who remembers Elian. Like she's her mom, and she had a very close connection from the moment she was born, for the most part. Elian was close with her parents before, but yeah, I think it shows that her mom honestly has a closer connection with Elian than one would think. Secondly, would be the first of 2 times where Elian and Ellesmere hugging is the most adorable thing imaginable. Like seeing her short, stubby fairy dragon arms try to hug her daughter without remembering
It's
that she's her daughter.
adorable.
It's just,
It really is.
Yes, it's so adorable. I want to hug her so
Very
bad.
much is so. But what happens
Math?
next? Yep. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I was about to say, one thing I keep harping on all of the details in this movie. The one thing they do is, because she has such a big round body and stubby little arms, if you watch closely, you can see Queen Ellesmere trying to stretch her arms out to touch Elian while they're hugging. That is such a nice detail that was not needed at all, and it is so good and adds so much emotional impact.
I know, it's awesome. Oh my
It
gosh,
really,
it's
really is good.
adorable.
It really, really is good. Wow. Like I say,
Cute.
yep. It really is something else. And again, it's a really, really sweet moment. The next day, basically, what happens is Cardona is tracking them down. Flink in Bolinar's body is eating nuts and accidentally stumbles across a trail of them as Cardona congratulates him. Nazara, in a really cute joke, wonders how he makes more money than her as the soldiers continue to move. We cut back to the group as they're making their way to the forest, with her parents repeatedly saying her name. She's basically trying to explain to them that they're her parents and she is their daughter, but they repeat it, but not understanding it. Solon says that Purple Rat is their daughter as she corrects him before noticing that Bolinar is intentionally leaving the acorns to lead the soldiers to them. She then gets angry and says that she has to work with them and threatens to leave him in Ellesmere's mouth as she is excited at the prospect and a funny joke. Like, I just love how excited Ellesmere is at just leaving him in her mouth. It's a good gag.
Have we mentioned yet that she is 100% the Vor Queen? Also, circling back to the Flink and Molinar's body and Nazira, she sees him getting praised by the general, and she's just like, "How do you make more money than me?" It's honestly hilarious.
Yep. But basically, what happens next is that the pair then walk across sand, but turns out to be quicksand, which this is a really creative part here. How it works is when shadows go over the sand, it becomes quicksand, but when the sun is on it, it is safe, which, again, this feels like something from like some kind of a mythology, but it feels like the movie itself made it up, and it really does work well for it.
Yeah, I love this moment right here. Like, the logic that the shadows make the sand ultimately more dense, or at the very least less dense. I forget how density works, but like basically it makes the sand feel like water and you're actually trying to swim through it. It's honestly pretty unique, and I'm surprised a lot of other things like D&D or such don't do this more often. Like, use sand in such a unique way. It's very amazing. The more I think about it, the more it's honestly just baffling that we don't have this kind of thing done with sand.
Easily. So basically, what happens next is that Ellesmere flitters onto a rock while Solon and Eleanor gets to safety. Elion tells them to stay on the sun but out of the shadows. Ellesmere tells them that it is too dangerous and they're going to go on the green path despite it being much longer and further away. Solon, meanwhile, has another plan. They're going to run on the sand as fast as they can and not get sucked in as they argue. Unfortunately, we do not get to see that C-3PO and R2-D2 are having the same argument. That way? It's much too rocky that way. This way is safer. But anyway, Matthew was saying?
This movie really loves its callbacks because as soon as Queen Ellesmere gets onto a rock, she says, "This is why I like rock."
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I was going to mention that too. Oh, good lordy. Ellesmere is so amazing. And smart.
He is so wholesome.
And smart. Very much smart.
Yes.
Yeah. But basically, what happens next is that the pair continue to argue with each other in a really realistic way as the darkness suddenly appears. The army is also there, and we get probably the funniest joke in the movie. Bolinar sees his own body, who goofily waves at him with like a really ridiculous smile, and it is so funny. It really is.
Yeah. Oh God, I loved that moment. It's like this one kid who's at like a freaking recital, like he's looking all professional and stoic and like ready to just like make his school proud. Then he sees his mom and dad. He's like, "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad."
Exactly.
Made me laugh so much. And, like, even rethinking it, it's just honestly so goddamn hilarious each time.
Yeah.
Man, also Shark.
Yeah, I was gonna say, going back to when the parents are arguing and what Matt said earlier about when they were fighting in the cave, we have her say the phrase, "Please don't make me choose that." Well, it will be more relevant than you think.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It really is a good gag. And again, a good callback, rather. And like what happens next is that the pair begin to run, arguing over whose plan is better as the army flees in the quicksand. And again, Eleanor is screaming, "Why do you always do this?" Really feels compelling, especially when we find out why later. They continue to fight before Elian sees a griffin infant drowning and has Solon swim out to it. The sand being like rapids is a neat touch as Ellesmere flies her over to the griffin and saves it before Ellesmere saves her from going over the falls with her tongue. The darkness disappears as she gives the griffin their baby, but the army begins to chase them again. Solon then tells Ellesmere to take Bolinar as he has an idea. He kicks up a dust storm as the army is blinded by it, and when they can see again, there is no sign of the group. Cardona tells them to go to the other side, saying they can't be far, but it turns out they're hiding really in a canyon. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, this right here further alludes to the whole Knuckles thing. Like, this 100% is something Knuckles would do. He would dig with his freaking shovel claws and whatnot, and honestly, it's pretty impressive seeing Solon do stuff like this, going above and beyond just what we've already seen of him as a beast. And it's honestly nice to see that. And honestly, just every time I see him, I think of many different lines from freaking Sonic. And light spoiler for Sonic. Okay, not really a spoiler since it wasn't a trailer, but Knuckles. This reminds me of Shadow meeting Team Sonic, and Sonic being like, "We're not here to fight, but it's that." But with Elian, Ellesmere, and Solon, and it's like Elian being like, "We're not here to fight," and Solon's like, "Actually, Doctor, I really would like to fight him."
Nice. But really, what happens next is that Bolinar pouts more about his body being lost, while Elian's parents get ahead of them, and he then laments about being lost in this place forever as other members of Flink's species arrives and dig up grubs. He then says that he has to share a meal and gain their trust, as the Flinks all smash up the grub and spits on it. Bolinar reluctantly eats it and finds out he likes the taste, and this is the part of the movie that is probably the worst one. If you've ever seen Frozen, this is the fixer-upper of this movie, because we get a musical number about how we could get used to this kind of thing, which this really doesn't enhance the plot in any way, at least for now. This feels like filler for the most part, and they go to the canyon with a whole society of flings that have like a carnival set up, and yeah, this is probably the worst song in the movie. You could actually cut this and not miss much of it. This should be the theme song to Louis from Pikmin, because he likes eating bugs.
Oh God!
And that's the second Pikmin reference he made in this podcast episode, by the way. Will we make more?
Maybe. However, I'm going to defend this song, to be honest, because while I admit it does have some distractibility to it, I wouldn't call it useless. This is ultimately where a bit of a problem with Bolinar is that ever since becoming a Flink, he's ultimately pessimistic. He's like not exactly on board with any of this. Like he's not exactly in a very positive mindset, and the Ellesmere and Solon as well as Elian didn't exactly help with that. But here, this song kind of actually helps him get out of his comfort zone and ultimately fixes his attitude, getting rid of a pretty major problem that would have ultimately made this film a 6 out of 10. And for that, I really very much appreciate this song for doing that. And also, the visuals in this song are honestly pretty great. Like the neon, like bioluminescent bugs making like beautiful lights and whatnot, the dancing, and honestly, there's one other song that I feel is worse than this song. We'll get to it later, but yeah, I honestly like this song a lot. I can understand why people don't, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, I can see that. But Matt, you were saying?
First, I like that Fixer Upper is such a notoriously bad song in what is otherwise a ensemble of amazing songs, that it is just basically a verb or an adjective these days, because that is the exact thought I had when I was watching this, that this is just Fixer Upper. And second, while I do think that this is the worst song in the movie, I do agree with Angron. It is very bright. It's very colorful. It's imaginative. They actually do stuff with it visually, unlike Fixer Upper, which was dark and gray. So at the very least, they keep it entertaining, even if it is a bad song to me.
Yeah, it's a bad song to a lot of people, but I wouldn't go so far as to call it pointless.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. I could definitely see that. So, but yeah, basically what happens after the song is the pair meet up with Elian's parents as they follow the griffins to a field where they live. There's a good joke where one of the griffins stares at Elion and then back
Shark.
at Solon. Oh, Shark. Sorry, go ahead, guys. My apologies.
Yeah, I think a problem
Sorry about that.
with the song is that it's mostly the character development of him comes like with a switch, because before this point he just hated it. He hated being this small thing. He hated being in this adventure. He didn't want to help really the queen and queen. He just wanted to go back home. But he eats a bug, and all of a sudden, you know what? I actually like this, and it's like, huh? It would have been neat if it was a bit foreshadowed with at some points, like, oh, he finds some advantages of his small body, or oh, okay, this cave is actually cool, but no, it's just I hate this in 1 second, I love it in the next.
I
Yeah,
can
exactly.
understand that to a degree, but I mean, some people learn by taking steps, other people learn by getting pushed in, you know?
Yep. But basically, as I was saying, what happens next is that they go to the land of where the griffins are. We get a really good joke. One of the griffins stares at Elinor and back at Solon, and Solon just says, "She likes cake." But
Yeah.
watching her play with the baby griffins, which are really, really adorable. They're not griffins in the way, like, for example, Greek mythology would, or for example, Friendship is Magic. They're more like winged cats, but yet they are really, really just adorable, and they did a great job with them.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Also, calling them griffins would be a little inaccurate. Wing lines is a little more accurate, and I don't think they're ever given a name, but I guess that can work. Also, we then get another lovely little moment where they finally remember Elian, and this leads to the second Elian and Ellesmere hug moment, and it's a lot more adorable, and it is 100% like Ellesmere truly trying and just ultimately like accepting that she won't be able to reach her daughter, but it's still wholesome nonetheless. I love it.
Yeah, it is really, really adorable. Go ahead, Math.
I really liked again, because old man, so I seem to like these weird little different things. How when Elian and the I'm going to call them owl cats because that's kind of what they remind me of.
Okay.
Were playing. One of the Papa owl cats was pointing to its kid who was like pouncing and winning a game, and then King Solinar points. He likes cake.
Yeah. Like I said, you did it way better than I did, but I did it way better than I did. But yeah, no, it is such a great moment though. But again, with the Bolinar, I liked the moment where he says, "I knew they were in there," despite him literally repeating the opposite 20,000 times. But again, their reuniting is so lovely, and as they reunite, Elian sees the Lake of Light at a nearby mountain. Oh, go ahead, Shark. Sorry.
Something I really like about the way this is structured is that it's subversive from the typical transformation course movie. Like, for example, Brave, where, oh, this character that got transformed is losing their memories and their humanity. The more the movie advances or the more time we take fixing it, they're going to forget who they are. Here is the other way around. They start as mindless beasts, but they slowly regain their intelligence and finally their memories. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love this moment.
It really is one of the best moments in the movie. Let's be real. It really, really is great. But, excuse me, what happens next is that as they reunite, Elion sees the Lake of Light at a nearby mountain. As we get a quick montage of them running towards it, the group make it up there as Elion and Bolinar jump in the light and splash around at it. However, before Solon and Ellesmere can go in, a light screen comes up, and no, it is not Kadabra using it. It turns out that it actually shows the two of them fighting and arguing with each other before the darkness surrounds both of them and turns them into monsters. Both of them realize that the anger consumes them as they look at each other. Solon says that they stop bringing out the best in each other, and Elion then notices them looking forlornly at each other and approaches them, asking what is wrong. Ellesmere mentions how they used to argue with each other all the time, as Elion says that all families fight. Ellesmere says not like that, as that's how they became monsters. Solon says that they cannot step into the light despite Elion's pleading. She asks if they want to be human, as Solon says that they want to be, but Ellesmere adds that they don't want to be those people again. And before I mention what the metaphor is, Math, go ahead.
I was actually about to say, if it's not perfectly clear by now, this is a movie about divorce. This is so
Yep.
weird to see in an animated movie because normally, or even animated series, you see the parents post-divorce or one of the parents dead. You never see in the process of divorce. And it is really I want to say good that we actually have a movie touching on this because it is such an unfortunately prolific problem, and it really helps people to relate and identify with the characters going through this. You can see a lot of events from yours in a parallel to this.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I relate to this the most as a person whose parents have gone through, or at least my mom has gone through 3 other divorces before finally settling on a stepdad. And yeah, it's pretty rough. Like the first time, it's definitely the roughest time. I don't remember it too much, but it was probably pretty rough. And but yeah, here it's not as strong, I feel, but it's definitely impactful, especially since it tackles stuff that you wouldn't think would be covered all that much, or at least be a problem in divorcing couples, but they very much are most times, and it can often show, and it can often not be very great when it happens.
Yeah, exactly. And again, basically this takes a complex basically concept for children and it makes it so easily understandable for them, you know? It really is such a good metaphor. And again, what happens next is really good too because the darkness returns as Solon tells her that they need a minute to figure out what they want to do. However, Elion is enraged by this, running up to them and yelling before pushing them out of her way. She basically says everything she did was completely pointless. As again, another song where she laments how everything was for nothing, how everything was only about them and not for her and her needs and that, which again, so realistic for how children would react to this. I will say this. She took divorce better than Frank Abagnale Jr. did because she didn't try to start a check counterfeiting company, so that's good. Had to reference that. But yeah, Solon and Ellesmere basically beg for her to talk to them as she finishes her song with the darkness literally overtaking her. The couple basically try begging her that they love her, but she doesn't believe them, saying that if they can fall out of love with each other, they can fall out of love with her as well. However, they're horrified to see that, and they're trying to go to help her. However, the guards capture them and put muzzles on them, which, again, so realistic. Not so much the muzzle and capture thing, but it is the fact that her reaction to it is so realistic, and she does such a good moment, you know? She says such a good performance, too, especially with this song and that. It really, really works out well. But
Definitely.
anyway, Matthew was saying?
Yeah, I think that that's what really helps this movie is, and probably why so few others, if any others, actually tackled the subject of divorce before, because it is such a minefield to go through. This movie handles it, I would say, damn near perfectly. They don't treat the parents as pure evil for wanting to get a divorce, and they don't treat Elian as pure evil for her having a negative reaction to it. They treat everyone as it sucks all the way around, and this is a realistic way that everyone would be handling the situation.
Definitely.
Exactly. It really, really works out well. Excuse me. So basically, what happens next is that Cardona says that no one will ever see the monsters again, as Flink and Bolinar's body whines about this. However, Bolinar and Flink's body stares in shock before popping underground. We then cut to the army walking away before we get a moment that really, really surprised me. Bolinar shows up again with all of those other members of Flink's species as they attack the soldiers, which my mind is blown how they took what could have easily been a comedy relief, absolutely terrible, look out world, here I are level song, and they made it meaningful. They actually gave it a plot point, to which I have to applaud them. I really, really have to applaud them for that. But let's see, go ahead, Shark.
So Homer has an army of tiny little creatures ready to attack, huh? All he needs is a whistle.
Yep.
Nice.
Good Pikmin
Nice.
reference. Nice. Angron?
Yeah, definitely a full circle moment here where like a thing you think would be pointless is actually used pretty damn well, especially for something like this. Also, the big flick that's with the group reminds me of those big flickies from Sonic Superstars that like are just with I'm sorry, what was that, Stryker?
Flink, the big Flink.
Yeah, the big Flink, I know. Who reminds me of the big flickies from Sonic Superstars. And, like, it's the big one that's, like, all big and rolling around like that. And it's just, like, he's the most standout of the bunch. It's either a walrus, a giant chicken, or a giant penguin, or at least a giant pig. And it honestly just reminds me of that. Speaking of which, he fires bugs out like a freaking Gatling gun. It's funny.
Yeah, definitely is. So what happens next, basically, is that Flink in Bolinar's body manages to open up the cages as Bolinar and Flink's body removes the muzzles. Ellesmere tells the army that they are their king and queen, and everyone instantly bows to them, which, to me, I understand why they did this, but at the same time, it's a little anticlimactic. Like, everybody instantly believes that these two unknown monsters that somehow finally have the voice of the royals, they instantly believe them. I think it would have been a little more interesting if some of them believed them, but like, for example, Cardona thought it was a trick by them, like they could do voice mimicry or something. Regardless, I understand why they did it, because they wanted probably to get to the ending portion, but go ahead, Shark.
Yeah, imagine if it worked for Ludmilla as well. People of Moscow! Oh, hey, it's Ludmilla. I am not going to question why he shot Dragoness now.
Yep,
Oh,
that would have been the
gosh.
perfect ending for her. So yeah, basically what happens next is that Nazara says they are glad to have their minds back, but want to know where the princess is. Solon explains that she is up there in the darkness storm, that they have to save her. They and the soldiers run up to it as Nazara basically berates Bolinar for not telling her, but Flink in Bolinar's body pops up and says that he had a momentarily loss of words in a cute joke, and the pair run up to the mountain as Elinar is seeing memories of her parents in happier times, but swipes away at them, getting angrier and angrier. She begins turning into another monster, and I don't know if this was intentional or not. I really hope it was, because if it is phenomenal. The monster that she's turning into kind of looks like the 2319. We got the 2319 guy from Monsters Inc. The guy that gets shaved and like it kind of looks like that, like the shadow of that guy. I really wonder if that was intentional, because Lasseter worked on this, and if so, applaud, because that's the best Pixar movie, at least one of them. Go ahead, Angron.
Probably, but that does bring up an interesting aspect. Like, what would her form look like if the darkness took hold of her and she ultimately became a beast? Like, we see her thrashing at all the good memories she used to have, like, because she's letting all the dark moments of her parents divorcing and ultimately coming to grips with the fact that they might not love her because of this. And it's not only intense, but it makes me wonder what she would look like if she was in the shoes of both Solon and Ellesmere.
What I could see, if you guys don't mind, the way that I can tell, she looks like she was like turned into a giant bunny. So the way that it's sculpted up from the face and the ears pointing out, it looks like a giant bunny with giant claws like her mother had when she was a giant fake dragon creature.
Oh god, it's Bunny Link all over again. Moon
Classic.
Pearl, quickly!
Classic. But basically what happens is Solon lifts the entire mountain and pours the light liquid into the darkness, allowing Elion to see that there is another way. The darkness slowly leaves her as the pair apologize to her in song and note that she should come first before anything else. in a really cute moment, she sees a smaller version of herself point to her parents before she sings about how everything will be fine despite the fact that things will have to change. She sings to her parents that, of course, things will change and they'll find out how together as a family. They hug as a yellow glow covers all of them, and Solon and Ellesmere turn back human, which is kind of as weird as when it happens in Beauty and the Beast, because it happens like right at the ending. But regardless, this isn't the exact ending because we get a title card for 1 year later. But Elion tells the audience, which, yeah, we're back to the breaking the fourth wall again. Her father lives in one castle and her mother lives in another castle on the other end of the kingdom. She's happy with the arrangement, mainly because she doesn't have to clean her room. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, a friend of mine told me at one point that this is honestly a very surprising positive outcome for divorced couples. Like, this is the good end of like all of that just happened, and I honestly kind of have to agree. Like, not everything ends on good terms like this, and yet it ended well here, and I like that. They worked things out. They ultimately found a way to coexist together despite not being together, and yeah, it very much shows.
Yep. It really, really does work out. And the flare goes off as she returns to the castle yet again. Nazara says the king and queen request an audience with her as she opens the door to reveal the entire kingdom there for her birthday. I do like several nice small touches, like Cardona bowing to her. We still see the hail bale dogs running around in the background, which, again, really nice touch. They called back to that. And, her friends show up again. Bolinar, now back in his body, gives Flink a tiny replica of his own suit. The oracles arrive again and say how proud they are of her, and that if anyone else turns into a monster, please don't hesitate to ask, unlike Squidward serving Bubble Buddy. It turns out what she got for her birthday was a saddle as she eagerly runs off with her friends. Solon tells her to be back by 9, with Ellesmere making it 10 and letting him know when she'll be home. The movie ends with the final song where Eleanor sings about how everything is different but still good, and her life is now actually for the better as she flies off happily and sings. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There is no post-credit scene, surprisingly, but where Babe comes in to tell them about the Dragon Initiative, sadly.
Indeed.
Yep. But Spellbound got surprisingly negative reviews, believe it or not. That I'm actually shocked at what happened because, again, I thought this movie was really good. I'm sure you guys did too. It's not my favorite. It's not like up there with, like, say, Pinocchio or Fantasia or Aladdin or anything, but it comes close. It comes close to being like with the better half of Pixar, let's say. And that it talks about a really difficult topic while also keeping it for children, but not dumbing it down. That's what I give them all the credit for. They talk to children at their own level. And again, I give them all the props for that. And yeah, like I said, that definitely is my opinion on it. But let's see, Matthew, we're going to say?
Yeah, I didn't grow up with divorce, but I grew up in a broken household as well. And I really clicked with this movie. I got the messaging, and I thought that this was probably one of, if not the best portrayal of divorce, not just in animation, but in like any movie I've ever seen. And the way that they handled it, the maturity they brought to it, and how they didn't hold back. They showed you how this can be such a bad situation for all parties involved, and how they wanted to bring it to a level that anyone could understand. That and all the callbacks. There wasn't really anything in here that was just a throwaway. Everything that they did as sort of a little joke actually mattered. It was really great and all that. I'm not saying this is a perfect movie, far from it, but it is so much better than it's been reviewed, and I know exactly why it's been reviewed like this. Every negative review focuses on Lasseter. That's it. There you go.
Definitely.
Yeah. Some people call this the worst animated movie of 2024, to which I have to say, did you see that Sandy Cheeks movie? Because no one is a bigger SpongeBob fan than me, but even I couldn't defend that.
I agree. Oh, a
Yeah.
few things about it were good, but otherwise, yeah, total crap show.
Yeah, really did not work. But like I say, Basically, Spellbound was released direct to Netflix, and again, I enjoyed this movie for what it was, and I really hope that Skydance continues to make movies because if they do, I mean, they really are shaping up to be a good studio. I mean, like for
Yep.
example, their first two movies are this good. I want to see what else can come on because they got Brad Bird working for him, which that alone is going to be amazing. He's finally making that Ray Gun movie he's been working on for 20 years, so that'll be good. And yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully Skydance does well. But now it is time for the question of the week, which is what is your favorite non-Disney animated movies? Now, what we mean by that is movies that feel like they're from Disney, but they're not. I'm going to go first, and my pick is probably going to be an obvious one. It's going to be Don Bluth's Thumbelina, which, like Spellbound, is not a perfect movie. Far from it. There's, some of the songs aren't as good. It feels rather derivative of other Disney movies when you really think about it, but man, the animation is so good. It has such fun musical numbers. It has some great characters like Mrs. Toad, and it has Gilbert Godfrey as the Beetle, which is that alone makes it worth watching for Gilbert. And yeah, one sad thing about Thumbelina, it is currently the only animated movie, or was for decades at least, to win a Razzie Award because Mary the Mole actually won the Razzie for worst song, which that it didn't deserve it. It wasn't
Oof.
that terrible. But yeah, Thumbelina is one of those movies where you could tell Bluth was in his kind of catch up phase, like after being such a huge guy for like the 80s and that. It feels like the 90s is where he kind of had a little bit of missteps at first. I'm not saying that it's bad, far, far from it, but it's a movie where you can definitely feel like he's not leading so much as he's trying to ape like Beauty and the Beast. With that being said, it is a fantastic, fantastic movie. And in case you want to quibble and say, oh, it's not that much like Disney, Bluth actually did a stunt where he played the movie with the Warner Brothers logo, then he played the movie with the Disney logo, and when it had the Disney logo in front of it, the test screening scores were higher. So, yeah,
Dang.
that actually happened. That actually happened. But yeah, Thumbelina is a great movie. It has great songs. It's really inventive, I feel, for like Bluth. It's not like is it like Secret of Nim level great or like even Anastasia? No, but at the same time, it's just a fun time. It's a good movie and it's one of his more underrated ones. So that's gonna be my pick. Is gonna be Thumbelina. What would be your choice, Angron?
That's a tough one because I don't know too many films that are both trying to be Disney and not trying to be Disney, if that makes any sense. Like a few come to mind that are made by studios who are adjacent to Disney, like Fox, and I suppose Star Wars for the most part. But taking a step back from that, to be perfectly honest, I might honestly have to go with Bartok the Magnificent. Like, it's
Yeah,
pretty amazing. What? Wait, no. You know what? Screw
Bartok
it.
counts. Bartok counts.
Yeah,
I think
it
it works.
counts.
If
It
that
counts.
counts, then I think that's going to be all of our choice. So let's put it this way. Let's say every movie that isn't Bartok. Let's do it that way. Because
Okay.
we're all probably going to say Bartok then.
Oh, don't worry, I have a different choice.
Okay, all good, all good.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna definitely say Spellbound because, like, compared to what Disney's doing nowadays, Spellbound does what Disney initially did, but it does it in a way that's unique and honestly gives us what we want. We want Disney back when they still cared about quality. Like, and yeah, the quality here is more in the positives than the negatives. Not to say the negatives aren't noticeable, but yeah, this film definitely deserves to be talked about more for the sheer fact that it's honestly better than stuff like Strange World or Strange Journey, whatever it's called, Wish, and honestly a bunch of their live action shows. Because at this point, Disney is digging themselves a hole that I doubt they can effectively get out of. And Spellbound scratches that itch that many people who used to be fans of Disney 100% are going to get behind. And that is an itch that definitely deserves to be scratched. And like all the positives that we said about this film, help with that, and that's why I feel Spellbound is the best. I can't believe it's not a Disney film, in my opinion. It's my favorite.
I can definitely see why. So, Matt, what would your pick be?
Kind of keeping a bit of the train with Bluth going for the I can't believe it's not Disney, which ironically it is Disney now. Anastasia.
Ah, nice.
Well, Bartok.
So many jokes were made as soon as Disney bought Fox because the Disney princess that wasn't a Disney princess is actually a Disney princess now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Anastasia was such a good movie. I mean, it beat Disney when they released it. A really great voice cast, really great songs, really great animation. It's Don Bluth, that goes without saying. It was such a good movie, and it was Bluth at that point didn't want to do a Disney style movie. That was more like a hey, you do this, and then we'll give you a little bit more control over what you want to do. And he beat them at their own game, proving why he is a master at his craft.
Exactly. And I'm actually surprised it actually beat Hercules because that was the Disney movie that came out that year.
Yeah, and it was popular enough to get Bartok the Magnificent. Ergo,
Which
a
was
reason for
hard
the
to
server
see.
to exist.
Yeah, and the podcast.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a great choice right there. So let's see here. Let's see. Sorry about that. Shark, you were saying what would your pick be?
Well, Don Bluth is an easy answer to this question, honestly. But actually, I'm going to go with something that even after it was confirmed that, even after I knew about Don Bluth Studios, there's this movie that I thought it was Disney. Then I thought it was Don Bluth, and that's gonna be Frank Gully, The Lost Rainforest.
Oh, interesting.
It just has the style, and it was a VHS we had at the home a lot of time, and whenever we will be bored, we will probably pick it up because we have nothing better to do. And it's interesting, the art style, colorful and all, and of course it has you know who voicing you know who. Tim Curry as the pollution cloud.
And Robin Williams as Batty.
Also that, but
yeah.
But and it's like, But yeah, in general, it's a interesting movie. Obviously not the best you'd see, but for a studio that isn't even Disney and it's not even Don Bluth, it's like, okay, the art style here is very, very neat, and the story is captivating enough. So yeah, I will enjoy watching it.
Yeah, that's a great choice right there. And again, that's a movie that again has such a beautiful art style to it. Like I really feel like we missed something by going away from 2D in general because it is really something else. It looks amazing. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, and if you've never heard the villain song in that movie, it is Tim Curry singing, so listen to it immediately. And it is the most adult song you will ever hear in a kid's movie.
I miss Tim Curry.
Same. What a legend. I know he recently did some animated movie, or rather a slasher movie, but I gotta look it up. But no, that's a good choice right there. Yeah, Tim. I gotta look it up, but I'll look it up after this. But basically, yeah, that's a great choice, Shark, because again, it's one of those movies that's just so beautiful. Plus, Robin Williams. How can you not like any anime movie with Robin Williams in it? This Aladdin,
Robin Williams
Robots. Robots he was great in, and yeah.
Happy Feet too.
Yep, that as well. And Happy Feet too. Yep. But that's a great choice. So let's see, Stryker, what would your pick be?
Oh, it's definitely Fern Gully for me.
Look at that.
Because I actually grew up watching movies like that with my sister, and just a lot of these it's mainly a lot of Don Bluth that I grew up with, but the one that comes to mind, and I have to say it to pay respects to Robin Williams, it's Fern Gully.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely a great choice right there. So yeah, like I say, it's a movie that again, the '90s really was like the last golden age of like 2D anime movies. Not saying that we didn't have any really good ones in the 2000s. We had like the stuff that DreamWorks is doing. We had, of course, like Disney still doing stuff like Treasure Planet that's beautiful and Home on the Range. We had La Colina del Dragon and its sequels, which we'll talk about later. And
The SpongeBob
yeah,
movie, 2004.
that too. Let's not forget that is probably one of the best. But yeah, like I say, it really, really is a great choice right there. Let's see, Jordan, what would your pick be?
The fact that I'm the same way with whoever went before me. Yeah, we kind of some of us grew up watching Don Bluth's movie, but I'm going for another generation of an artist that did a fantastic job. It's not Disney, it's not Pixar, it's the Swan Princess, the first OG.
Huh.
Because
Yeah.
that
Nice.
is so hand drawn a bit still. I mean, after generations, it got more bigger.
Human centric.
Yeah. And with this one, it still had to hold that same Disney magic of the magical, like when Odette became a swan, you saw that whole magic with the water. It's like how with Cinderella, how her plain mother's dress got ruined, and boom, here's that beautiful effect when her dress became this beautiful gown. Same how with Odette got turned into the swan, that whole water effect, which I love to this day. So I'm going for the OG of the Swan Princess because it's still magical, hand drawn. You can't turn that down. Great voice actors. So I'll probably go with still Don Bluth and the Swan Princess, or my choice.
Nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, but yeah, Swan Princess for me, as a movie I've seen, I want to like it. Odette's design is beautiful in that, especially as the swan. The backgrounds are amazing,
Mhm.
but I don't know. There's just something about it. It doesn't click for me. It's a very good movie. I'm not saying it's not. Maybe it's just personally with me. There's just something that doesn't click. Like Odette
I
is
mean,
lovely. The songs are really good in some parts in that, but
I think I see your point. Is that yeah? I mean, there's some things that didn't make sense. Like Derek is smart. I'm like, okay, dude, what do you not get here? That these two kingdoms are neighborly. They are going to get married, arranging two of their kids to get married, which is typical, like what families do. But during different Swan Princess movies, they do throw out some secrets that they didn't tell from the OG. Like Rothbard had a partner that wanted the same thing with the Dark Forces. And then the newest one, like how Derek's mom became queen. I have not seen it, but it's on my bucket list to watch it. Like how she became queen and how Odette's mother died of all this. It's kind of throws there's some secrets that they didn't show in the first generation movie. So I'm tempted to watch it so I can understand. But yeah,
easily.
there's some things why the first one didn't get a lot of good clicks. Like some songs, like Rothbart's song, that didn't need to be a thing. Like, you're okay feeling Rothbart, but you didn't need your own song, buddy.
Yeah. Jack Palance was not a good singer. Let's do it that way.
Hmm.
Not for
Yep.
that anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's a great choice right there. And now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where we're talking about probably one of the most unique Dragonesses we're talking about, at least in terms of design, and that she doesn't look like any Dragoness that came before her at all. Now, with that being said, Queen Ellesmere, I really do like her. She has a fantastic, perfect design. The voice is great, the characterization is great, everything is perfect. I can't give her a 10 out of 10. It's just, I don't know. I know they were going for more of like a dragon chimera thing. I think it sounds so petty. I think if she maybe had a little bit more of a snout, I could give her a perfect score.
Hmm.
That being said, she is really good. Like she is a 9.9999 to infinity out of 10. I just can't push it over the thing to give her a perfect score. I don't know. Maybe it's my thing. Maybe it's the fact that, the insect parts of her, it's not really Dragoness. But with that being said, she is still a fantastic character. It's a fantastic design. It's a fantastic story. Everything about it is perfect. But again, maybe it's just me. I'm sorry. I have to do this. I have to give her, and I say this with all the regret in the world, a 9 out of 10. Again, I apologize for that, but I guess there's just one tiny little thing that can't just push it over the hump for me, and I'm sorry to say that. But regardless, Angron, what would you give her?
I might also give her a 9 out of 10, if not for the fact that she doesn't do too much. If she did just a tiny bit more, like a tiny bit more, I would have absolutely given her a 10 out of 10. But you know what? I honestly don't care. I am giving her that 10 out of 10 because she is adorable in this. Like, every moment with her is funny, consistently adorable, unique, and just like, oh, this is so cute. Like, her Fey Chimera Dragon design here is very adorable, and I really want to see Skydance do more unique designs like this, as well as Babe, and it's for that reason I'm 100% giving her a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I definitely could see why. Like I said, there's just something about me that just can't push her over the edge. But with that being said, I think she's probably going to get. I'm probably going to be the odd man out in this case, the only guy who doesn't give her a 10 out of 10 on this episode. But we'll see what happens. Math, what do you give her?
I love this design. I cannot express enough how much I love all the creature designs in this movie, but particularly hers. It is so bright and colorful, and every way you look at her, she just pops and stands out. There is not a detail on her that isn't out of place. The little wings fly like you would expect little tiny wings to work on a body that big. The arms being those little well, first of all, I love that it's 6 arms again. Someone at Skydance really has a thing for that. But that they're little nubs on that big body, and especially the way that she has that those moments where she tries to hug Elian and can't quite reach. I cry every time. The emotional
so
moments with
adorable.
her are some of the best in the movie. The voice is fantastic. Her singing, other than Zegler's, is probably my favorite in the movie.
Yeah.
Everything about her I love. I cannot find anything I dislike. Hell, most of the things I like more than a lot of other things that I've listed that I've really liked before. How can she be anything but a 10 from me?
Yep.
Nice.
Let's see it. Yep. Like I say, I think I'm going to be the odd one out in this episode, but we'll have to see. So, yeah, again, I might bump her up, but I'll have to think about it. Let's see. First, Stryker, what would you give her?
Do I need to say it? She's a 10 from me as well.
Figured.
Yeah.
She's so
Yeah.
sweet. She's so pretty. She's so cute. Adorable. The writing is amazing. The voice is amazing. We need more movies with her.
Yep.
I'm sorry,
Yep.
I couldn't help it.
No,
I
it's
love
okay.
her
It's
so
okay.
much.
I understand. All right. Let's see. Shark.
Okay, I like a lot the character and the character art because, like I said, it's a reversal of the usual curse transformation where, oh no, we have to fix this fast before they lose who they are. It's backward heroes. They already lost who they were, but they recover it. And of course, I like the personality a lot. She's caring how at the end she does anything to prevent her daughter to fall into the same course. How she actually learns that, oh, I messed up. I became a monster because I just lost my light, as they say. And the voice is really nice. She has funny moments, emotional moments. And yeah, there's a lot to like about her, honestly. With that said, I do have a big problem with her. And
Oh boy.
you said you're the odd guy. You'll be the odd one out? I'll probably be it by what I'm about to say. It
Go
hurts
ahead.
me to say that, but I did not like her design.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. What do you want? Okay, go ahead. No, by all means. Serious opinion.
I think it mostly
Explain.
comes to the face because, honestly, it's flat. There's like the tiny eyes and the mouth is just, it's flat. There's no little snout there. There's not something that really makes it look like anything, like an animal. Like at least if the king had like the little fangs coming out, the little snout. the queen is just like, I don't know. It's either, and the eyes are too separated from her. So yeah, and unfortunately, because I'm constantly seeing this character with a design I personally do not like, it does hinder her score a lot. And again, it pains me to say this, but I'm gonna give her a 6 out of 10.
Ooh, I honestly had a feeling you were gonna go for a 6 out of 10. It was either that or 7, but ooh.
Again, I
Yeah.
can understand where you're coming from because, again, everyone has their own opinion on that. And again, I can kind of see it because compared to, like, for example, to like Babe, I can definitely see why this more avant-garde design definitely could not work. And yeah, like I say, it
Yeah.
definitely is an interesting one. But
Again, the character, the personality, that alone, it's great, it's perfect. The story she goes, it's just the design that really, really held it back for me.
yeah, like I say, I definitely understand why. But basically, it makes sense. Makes it more interesting. Anyway. So let's see. Jordan, what would you give Queen Ellesmere?
I'm gonna go back to how everyone else kind of started, like 9 out of 10, because yes, she is definitely kind of like not much quiet, but when she got her voice, she has that okay. She still has that regal tone, like okay, I know what I'm here for. I made mistakes, like everyone else pointed out. She looks beautiful. She's like a cuddly plushie you just want to hug.
Yeah.
And for the fact that she does show the signs of motherhood when she sees her daughter playing with these griffin cats or something, she literally picks her up and tries and just dumps her right in the middle of all these creatures. And she's like smart, like okay, she likes the rocks. And when that whole quicksand scene, she's like, "This is why I like rocks." She literally shows that sass of royalty, like, I'm smart and my husband's kind of dumb, kind of point. They didn't see that point right there.
Yeah, I
And
love her for that.
yeah, she still shows that sign. I'm like, okay, I'm still queen. I'm still badass. Men are not there in the brain sort of way, I guess.
No.
But I still give her 9 out of 10 because she's beautiful. Her colors, as someone said, that they stand out. Like, okay, this is her. She's a baddie right here, but still a caring mother. Voice actor is great. I loved her singing was muy beautiful.
Yes.
It just yeah, some points I guess I didn't fit well, I guess, but I still give her a 9 out of 10 because who does not want a mother like this or as a creature as a mom? Because sign me up. I'd be like, I hug you, even though you can't hug me with your short arms. They're still adorably cute.
Yes, I want to hug her so I've said this at least several times throughout this, but I want to hug her so bad just to experience that. She
Pretty
is
much.
so
Same.
yeah, she is so adorable that way, and like, oh, there's just so much to love about
It
this
looks
character.
so soft.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, her dad, the husband's probably soft too, I guess, to a point.
On the
But again,
underbelly.
probably, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But again, the mom has beautiful short wings that she gently kind of glides over a bit, like maybe, I don't know, 30 or 50 seconds that she can hold on to. Even though how big she is, she can still do something compared to the husband who's got giant claws for digging. Good on you, but this woman's got wings. You can't turn a woman down with wings.
Yeah, he is the Knuckles to her freaking Fey dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. Yep. But that's going to be it for this week. If you have any questions or if you want to tell us if you think Skydance's next movie will have a Dragoness in it, you can feel free to email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Visit us on Blue Sky at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to subscribe to the Fiery Discourse YouTube channel. Hit the bell icon, subscribe, leave a comment. Any and all help is appreciated. Also, one of our co-hosts, Lucky Evie, is looking to go to a group home in the UK. That will be in the description as well. Next
Yeah,
week, we'll be talking
also
about
on that thing, apparently he is very close. He just needs 40 more bucks in order to reach it, and he'll ultimately have reached that goal. So support all you can, and yeah, go to the link in the GoFundMe and absolutely donate he's getting
Easily.
he's getting there.
Definitely. So yeah. Also, next week we're going to be talking about the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TV movie, Half Shell Heroes: Back to the Past. Where we talk about the first but not last time we'll talk about a female Triceraton. And don't worry, because we'll be talking about Ninja Turtles a lot more on the podcast.
Yeah.
There's so much turtle stuff to talk about.
So much.
You know I'm
Yeah.
right.
Yep, definitely will be fun. But that'll be it for this week. And until then, thank you all for watching and take care.
Later.
Bye bye.
Peace
Adios.
out.
See you all
Ye-
next week.